Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. In tonight's show, we're going to be focusing on the 9th of March. It is today, the day that Egypt and the armed forces celebrate the Veterans Day and the Martyrs Day. The armed forces and the whole country celebrates its martyrs who actually took place and sacrificed their lives throughout the Egyptian history, ancient and modern, at the same time. Now, the 9th of March has been chosen because it witnessed the martyrdom of Lieutenant General Abdelmenem Riyad in 1969 at the hands of the Israeli armed forces. We're going to be focusing on all of these on this special day and the highlights of the remembrance of Egypt and the armed forces regarding its own veterans and martyrs. But before we start doing that, let's check out some of the main stories making the news today. And we'll start off with the 33rd Armed Forces Cultural Symposium was actually held today, dedicated to mark the Martyr Day. Addressing the symposium, which was held under the title, "If Not For Them, We Wouldn't Be Here," President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said Egypt does not forget its martyrs, adding that the legends of the martyrs who sacrificed their lives for the nation urge Egyptians to preserve their country. President al-Sisi said all respect and appreciation go for Egypt's martyrs, stressing that protecting the nation is not an easy task, but a task that requires sacrifices. The head of state reiterated that if it was not for the sacrifices of the martyrs, security and stability would not be attained. President al-Sisi affirmed that Egypt would witness the birth of a new state and a new republic with the inauguration of the new administrative capital. The president said the region has witnessed developments that destroyed the concept of the national state, hailing that the role played by the armed forces and police in countering the forces of destruction. As for the coronavirus pandemic, he said the medical team's task during the crisis is also highly appreciated. He said the state seeks to make citizens' lives better through the Decent Life initiative. Sisi said encroachment on agricultural lands must be stopped, as well as the acceleration of illegal constructions. During the symposium, President Sisi honored the families of martyrs and the wounded in military operations. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, Defense Minister General Mohammed Zeki, and a number of ministers and senior officials attended the event. And also on the occasion marking the Veteran and Martyr Day, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi attended on Tuesday the 33rd Armed Forces Cultural Symposium, which was held under the title, "If Not For Them, We Wouldn't Be Here," during which the head of state honored the families of martyrs and the injured in military operations. Addressing the symposium, President al-Sisi said Egypt does not forget its martyrs, extending his appreciation for their souls, stressing that protecting nations is not an easy task, but a task that necessitates sacrifices, and reiterating that if not for the sacrifices of the martyrs, security and stability would not be attained. Later on his social media formal account, the president tweeted that he had the pleasure to honor the families of the armed forces martyrs and injured, those heroes who sacrificed themselves and who will remain in the memory of the nation and its people. The president affirmed that those heroes and their families would last in the mind and heart of Egypt. And we're now joined over the phone by Engineer Hassan Shabaan, the political analyst. Engineer Shabaan, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you very well. Go ahead.
Engineer Shabaan, now, the 9th of March, we celebrate the Veteran and Martyrs Day. how significant is such a day and celebrating it, not just in light of the previous wars that Egypt has undergone and the many sacrifices that our sons from the armed forces and police have sacrificed, but also during the current and modern battles and combatants who are taking place in combating extremism and terrorism all over the country?
Well, apparently it's our destiny as Egyptians to give the sacrifices to maintain the integrity of our soil, and we would be very proud of our flag. Actually, we sacrificed a lot of our people and soldiers, officers during the previous wars that we attended. But apparently, it is our destiny to keep on fighting for our integrity, actually. Mm-hmm. I mean, we are still fighting till today against terrorism, and we've lost a great deal of people in this war against terrorism, actually. Each one of us definitely lost a dear friend or a relative in this war against terrorism. For people who did not attend, the wars that Egypt had to go through since 1948 and 1956 and 1967 and 1973. It's a continuous battle to preserve our dignity, and the armed forces definitely sacrificed a lot of the people in these wars. And I like the slogan that was raised to celebrate the Martyrs' Day is, for them we wouldn't be here, which is very true. For them we wouldn't be here today.
Mm-hmm. Engineer Shabaan, now, as you've mentioned, if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be here. And we look at how the political developments are taking place throughout the region. Now, does this really highlight the importance of the sacrifices made by the armed forces and police forces as well in maintaining the security and stability and the sovereignty of the country in the midst of a region that is plagued with a lot of uncertainty and political and conflicting developments and turmoil?
Definitely. These sacrifices meant a lot to us, and it meant also a lot to our enemies. To us, we knew that we can count on our armed forces to preserve, our security and stability. And for our enemies, it meant that we are ready to sacrifice our lives and write in blood a certificate for freedom and democracy. We're still fighting terrorists till today, and the message is very clear. Our armed forces are not here for just a decoration or something like that. No. Our armed forces, it's the destiny of our armed forces to be in war, engaged in war all the time. Apparently, the area is swarming with chaoses, and a lot of countries actually have fell, like Syria, like I hope that Iraq is regaining stability. Yemen, Libya also is regaining stability, hopefully. Sudan, all of these countries actually went through something. But we did not only defeat terrorism and regain stability and security, we are building a new country, as our president said. This is new Egypt, the new projects. We are developing Egypt. We're not only fighting, but we're building a new Egypt.
Well, sir, in today's address by the President at the Armed Forces Cultural Symposium, he highlighted the sacrifices that were obviously made by the armed forces and the police forces. He also highlighted the sacrifices made by the medical personnel during the coronavirus pandemic that is still ongoing, being on the front lines of this battle against the virus. And also yesterday we've been celebrating the International Women's Day. The presidency in the country is really making sure of highlighting the different pillars and the different players within the Egyptian society. And as you've mentioned, we are building a new country. How important is it to show this appreciation and honoring all the different sectors of society, be it from the armed forces, police forces, the women, the youth, the medical personnel? How important is it for the Egyptian society to realize the importance of the role played by each and every single citizen?
The president have highlighted the role of women, actually. I think ever since the president resumed office, he gave women a chance to prove their capability of, assuming important responsibilities in rebuilding our new Egypt. It's a coincidence that, we're celebrating a Women's Day as well as, the Martyrs' Day. And, we're also going through a battle with this pandemic. So, doctors are, sacrificing, and we've lost a big number of doctors in the battle against this virus. So all the members of the community are engaged in a fight or a rebuild. I mean, we're all working together as a team. The whole country is very alert, and we are aware of the tasks that actually faces Egypt, actually, and due to the pandemic, and the political pressures around us, the threats that we're exposed to. Let me put it this way: all the pillars, as you said, of our society is engaged in this battle. Hopefully, we will win this battle, and we will be able to see the birth of a new Egypt within a few years' time.
Hopefully so. Well, for many generations, people were reading about the wars and the martyrs who sacrificed their lives, as you've mentioned, in the 40s, in 1967, 1973. Many people really didn't live through these big events that took place in the country's history. But this generation right now is witnessing a lot of sacrifices, a lot of battles that are taking place during the past decade or so, fighting terrorism, fighting extremism. Do you feel that now the new generation is having a personal sort of appreciation to the sacrifices being made by the armed forces and the police, and as well the medical personnel, the doctors and the nurses?
I think, even if this generation did not live through, all these wars, but we owe our armed forces a great deal of appreciation, because, without the sacrifices they made in the past and the experiences they received going through all these wars, we wouldn't have this modern army that we have today. It's like a pyramid of expertise. We are all, aware of the sacrifices, and we should transfer our experiences and our memories to our children, just to make them aware of the fact that with the battles that we are fighting today are not just today. We've been fighting ever since, the Second World War. I mean, we got engaged in wars, and we paid a great deal of sacrifices during these wars. Egypt, we have a history that we should be proud of. Our army wrote in letters of light and blood history that we all should be proud of.
Yes. Engineer Hassan Shabaan, the political analyst, thank you very much, sir, for joining us.